Hello and welcome to We Should Read Book Club. Today's episode is Hannibal Part 3. This is the last part. This is the last episode of We Should Read Book Club Hannibal Edition. Last time, if you're coming from part 1 right now, you obviously know, but where we are starting is part 6, A Long Spoon, and it starts in chapter 89, where Lecter takes care of the unconscious Clarice Starling and really sees her in Misha's place. Honestly, this whole last part of the book is so sick, okay? Just so sick on so many different levels, and in chapter 90 the police find the bodies of Cordell and Mason and all of them, and Margot's questioned, but she's able to throw the police off, and all the power to Margot because she's getting everything that she deserves. In chapter 91, Clarice wakes up in Hannibal's home and she's comfortable in her surroundings and comfortable with Lecter. It was at this point that I was like, something is off. Like, something is really off. In chapter 92, there's more comfort between Starling and Lecter. He tells her Mason's dead and then kind of leads her to find the tracking device on her car. I know people ship Cannibal, and if you didn't watch my other video, I do a disclaimer. I respect everyone's ships. I respect, I really do. Anything I say against the Hannibal Clarice ship is not personal at all. It's just my own views and insights on this. And seriously, like, no judgment, nothing. Like, I love the fandom, the shippers, everything. Just, again, some people are super into it, some people aren't. Like me. In chapter 93, Crenler's nervous, but then he gets relieved. He gets the call that Margot Verger wants him to talk at some conference. And Matt tries to get people, like, moving on Starling's disappearance because, she's disappeared. And her best friend's like, oh my god, where are you? And Starling's gun gets discovered at the scene of all the dead bodies. And it's an embarrassment to the Bureau. It embarrassed the Bureau that they didn't know that their agent was there. In chapter 94, Starling's talking to Hannibal with almost no control. It says, like, she claps like a child, which to me kind of looks like this. And just so out of sorts. And then they talk about the tiny needle that he pokes into her, and Hannibal's drugging her, and then Starling goes on to talk to her father. Like, this whole thing is so gross and sadistic, and it's not Clarice Starling anymore, and it hurts my heart because I, like, really love her, and to see her get twisted into this just really hurts. Sorry, I'm not, like, about to cry, but, like, I kind of am because I expected so much more. So in chapter 95, we learn that the bones that Hannibal got from Texas were from Clarice's father, and Clarice spends time with the bones. And then Hannibal gets Clarice to air her hate about Crenler. And then Hannibal comes up with this thing where Misha's within Starling, or another good quality of the place of Starling must vacate. Like, it's like he wants her to be his sister, but, like, I don't even know. I don't even know, okay? In chapter 96, Ardelia Mapp threatens Barney. He does this weird thing with a mirror and an electrical box, and he brings a rape kit home from the hospital. Like, the whole thing's just very weird. And again, if you watched part 1 of this, you'll know that, like, I get very, like, confused because I feel like I missed something, and then I have to reread it back, and it's just it gets very confusing for me. So in chapter 97, Hannibal's setting dinner. There's 3 spaces and an autopsy saw, and I just have a bad feeling. We talked about this, how I saw a movie clip or a thumbnail of the guy with the head cut off, and with the mention of the cranial saw and then the brain surgery drugs. I just know it's coming, and I'm like, oh my god, we have 20 pages left. It's gonna happen. I'm dreading it. Chapter 98, the mirror Barney installed was a tactic against Margot. It's so, like, he could see behind him and see what she's doing. And then he uses the rape kit to extract the Lecter DNA that was still in that mask. And then he says, think I could when she's on her way, like she's not gonna kill him anymore, he goes, think I could have a kiss? And at that point, if I was Margot, I honestly would just have had enough and pulled the hammer out and been like, kiss this. If I was Margot. Because it just, it kind of undermines the friendship they had, that at the end of the day, he just wants a kiss from her to store it in the bank. And surprisingly, Barney lives. I didn't see that coming at the beginning of the scene. In chapter 99, Starling is so drugged, and Lecter has full control over her. And, you know, he gives her this dress, and there's more injections. And again, it just physically hurts me, okay? And then chapter 100. This is it, everybody. This is it. Krenler's at dinner. I always had a feeling this was Krenler that it was going to happen to. Krenler is in the dead man's suit. Krenler's conference was actually a trap for Lecter to get him. And Starling points out how the Apostle Paul also hated women when, like, Krenler's, like, spewing out this more misogynistic. But at this point, Krenler could be the worst person on earth. But it just, ugh. So Starling calls Krenler out, but he says there's something wrong with her. He, like, sees that, like, she's not herself. She really isn't. And she talks about, this part was important though. She talks about how she always doubted herself every time that Krenler would hit on her or write a negative thing in her file. And I really think that speaks to me on, like, the woman level, that, like, no matter how strong and independent, when somebody does that to you or is, like, hits on you, it's automatically in your mind like, oh, did I do something to bring this on? Did I do something to bring this on? And we as women need to get that out of our head, because that's what we've been, like, taught. Like, oh, this must be my fault. This creep is hitting on me. It must be my fault. It's never your fault, okay? It's never your fault. You can't control someone else's actions. Do not listen what anyone else tells you. You cannot control someone else's actions. Speaking of controlling someone else's actions, Hannibal removes the bandana, like, type thing, and Krenler's head, removes the top part of his head. Oh, so sick. Like, I literally almost vomited this whole time. I've been dreading this. I'm not going to cover it a lot because it's so sick. So gross. They eat his brain in front of him. He loses control of, he starts singing, and it's just, whew. It's so sick and twisted. And speaking of sick and twisted, in chapter 101, they're talking about Misha and Starling and Starling's place, and how if Hannibal was breastfed, and then Starling exposes her breasts, and he, like, does he see her as a sister? Does he see her as a... It's so twisted and perverse. In chapter 102, this takes place 3 years later. Barney is with Lillian Hirsch, and they go to an opera. He spots Lecter and Starling at the opera, and when the lights go down, he leaves and she leaves, and they get out of there. Chapter 103, Thomas Harris walks us through, and I do really like that, how, you know, Stephen King does that a little bit, where he walks the audience through and, like, really talks to us as the audience. But I think overall, this book was, the ending made it lackluster and disappointing. I'm sorry, I was very disappointed at the ending. I was very disappointed that Clarice Starling wasn't rescued, that Ardelia Mapp wasn't able to rescue her like she had any help, because, you know, she didn't. He got Clarice to isolate herself right off her best friend, and it just really upsets me, because this is a character I really loved, and to see her manipulate it like that, just, it really does make me sick. Overall, on a scale of 1 to 5, I would give it 3 Nightmare Stags, because the writing was really good. It was altogether really good. It's just the end was so disappointing, like, majorly disappointing. I put it down and I was, like, so bummed. I was like, wow, can't believe that's where that went. I really am glad that this was our first book for We Should Read Book Club. If you have anything else you want to discuss down below, we can discuss. That's why I'm here. Our next book will be Child 44, and I'm so excited. This is a reread. I'm so excited. This is my favorite book. And, just to put it, for the Hannibal universe, yes, I am going to be skipping Hannibal Rising, because a lot of people said, you know, Harris was kind of pressure to write it, or else like the movie people were just gonna like make it. But Red Dragon was really, really good. Silence of the Lambs was amazing. So maybe you just can't top those two. This book would have been 1,000 times better if Clarice Starling hadn't wound up in the hands of Hannibal Lecter, because at the end of the day, it wasn't a consensual relationship. I don't care how many times it says that drugs were not involved since the first few days they were together. Enough manipulation can happen in a few days that could last a lifetime. And the fact that she's now isolated and with him, it just really disturbs me. I want to give it 2 Night Neighbor Stags because that seems harsh because it was well written, but honestly it's just getting its kudos for being well written and having an altogether good plot up until the last 10 or so chapters. But in any case, I hope you enjoyed watching this. I know I really enjoyed making this. If you have any suggestions, put them down in the comments. As I said, I'm still fairly new to doing this. Really excited for this one. So thank you so much for watching. And oh, I want to say, overall, I do prefer the Hannibal TV series story to this, or at least to this book. I would rather the Hannibal TV series stories. So I hope that series makes it to the full 7 seasons that Bryan Fuller has planned out, because that's what I'm really excited to see. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week for more We Should Read Book Club. Bye!